Hey guys, doing a quick install video to show how we can remove the front cover off of this Cummins R2.8, removing the remote access oil filter kit that comes with the crate motor, and putting this off the shelf piece, part number 5475199, along with a couple gaskets you can just pick up next day from your local dealer. Pretty cool little piece. It makes it more like an OE automotive application. I'm going to show you how this all goes together, but if you check it out, it has the oil housing right on the side built into it. So the first step here is we're going to pull off the harmonic balancer, the oil cooler, water pump, and I will begin recording once I get that torn down here. So the first step, we're going to pull that water pump off. We're working with an 8mm socket. We'll go ahead and run those bolts out. Now that the water pump and neck are off, we're going to use a T30 torque. Pull the oil cooler screws out. It makes a little bit of a mess once you pull that cooler off, but the next step we're going to take, and if you notice on your harmonic balancer, you've got a dot right here that I'm going to assume is for timing. I'm going to align that with my crank sensor for safety reasons, because I'm not quite sure it does or does not need a line, but I'm not going to risk that. So just spin her over. If you go past, no big deal. You notice that's good enough. Okay, now we're going to slide this little tang back, pull the fitting off, and we're going to take a 5mm Allen head and pull the bolt out of the back. Okay, with a 15mm impact, pull the bolts out. As you can see, there is a dowel for timing, so when you go to put this back on, you need to align that back in the notch. Next, we're going to pull the pulley off where the belt will be the idler pulley will be. So with your hand and a 13mm impact, pull that piece off. Now you can access the bolts behind it. We still need to get the tensioner off and some pans out of the oil pan. Tensioner was also a 13mm at the impact. You can see now that we've got two more fittings we'll have to remove on this side as well as up here. Went ahead and pulled the 8mm bolt out of that. This is a 12mm head on this fitting. Make sure not to lose the copper washers. The black antifreeze line is a little snug. Definitely don't pry it, just wiggle it back and forth. It'll come out. A little bit of antifreeze from when they test ran it at the factory will come out. We're going to work on the fittings back behind the water pump, and then we'll pull the cover off. Using an 8mm socket, this piece will come right out. Pull the clamp off of there. Taking a pair of vice grips or a pair of pliers, whatever you've got in your hand, take the clamp off, and then I just use the 22mm open-end box wrench and just twisted that out as the easier way. Now we're going to take and red clip this, pull that off. Using an M10, I pulled out a total of 10 bolts off the front cover, and I believe we're going to have 4 coming out of the oil pan before this comes off the front here. Okay, so now that we got the 4 oil pan bolts out, with your hands, just slightly wiggle back and forth while pulling towards you. No prying tools are necessary. That piece comes off, and we're going to swap it with that piece. Notice on the back side, very straightforward. And if you haven't seen this yet, there's the front of that 2.8. I'll make a second video showing the installation of this, but checking the stopwatch, doing video as well as looking for the tools, this was a total of 38 minutes to get the old cover off. And if you can kind of visualize this, with that hanging back on there, now you can screw an oil filter on like any domestic or foreign automobile anywhere. Pretty cool.